Okay, so I've done this previously, but I just thought it'd be fun to kind of record my reactions um, and share as I go instead of typing it all down. So I'm going to watch these videos and respond to these questions. So the first question we're going to hit is, what specific feedback did you see teachers giving students? In other words, how did the teachers go beyond a good job? So we're going to start with the first video. Hopefully you can hear it okay. I'm going to skip through a little bit to where it starts.
I know you said in this book, the next time you write it, instead of saying in this book, in Ringer by Jerry Spinelli. Okay, and give us a little bit more details now. Other than that, I really loved your intro. Okay, you had a great intro, kind of talking about beans. You got my attention. All right, nice job with that.
So he's applauding her on what she did, and he's mentioning what she did and how she could have done it better. So it's, instead of saying in this book, it was in, I can't remember the title, but in the title by this author, that she could say that instead. But he still applauded that she did really well, which really helps encourage them to use what he's looking for. So I like that a lot.
All right, Mr. Spencer. All right, well, right now, I see you fully. I see mostly you're probably like, you're in between. So I'd say you're right around the 3.3. Okay, once again, we build up, we give a little bit more details. Okay, we'll push you more towards that category. All right, great job, Spencer. Go ahead, buddy. Right. You're with confidence. Okay.
Palmer LaRue from Ringer by Jerry Spinelli obviously trusts Dorothy because he'd listened to her advice. You wouldn't listen to a stranger's advice, would you? It is clear to me that Palmer trusts Dorothy when he is listening to her saying, "Why don't you skip 10 and just go to 11?" Also, Palmer told Dorothy
kind of irrelevant, but he is so expressive when he's reading, which is awesome because in my experience, it can be hard for kids to really express what's being said instead of just reading it like a robot. So I really enjoy that. Anyway, continuing.
That he hasn't told anyone, not even his parents, that he has a pigeon as a pet, even named it Nipper. I know how it feels to trust someone with a big secret, but I never had to trust someone with a secret about a pigeon. I wish I could have a trustworthy friend that I can tell millions of secrets to.
Okay, Spencer. Awesome conclusion there. Okay, great intro and conclusion. Actually, I really like both of those. Okay, and right now, just looking at our rubric here from New York State. All right, you were clear. You were purposeful.
So he said right off the bat, you did a good text to speech connection. I think it was. Ooh, I don't know, text to self. I can't remember. And talking about the conclusion. So he's applauding those markers that he hits, and it sounds like now he's going to go over the rubric with him, which is great because he's getting direct feedback on what he did correct according to the rubric.
Okay, you definitely linked a lot of things. I loved your text to self connection. What did you say? I wouldn't just trust anybody. Can you read me that sentence one more time, actually?
The text to self?
Yeah, you said I wouldn't just trust anybody.
No, I think you're. Oh, yeah. I know how it feels to trust someone with a big secret, but I never had to trust someone with a secret about a pigeon.
Okay, what a text to self connection there. Okay, that's a great job. Spencer, once again, bud, you are getting your way towards that 4 category.
Awesome. So he went over, he really highlighted the text to self, so he must have really liked that, which makes the student probably feel really good about it. Telling him what he went over in the rubric gives him that good feedback, letting him know that he's on his way to earning the full credit. It sounds like 4 points is what they're using, it looks like. Okay, next video. Again, skipping ahead a bit.
I understand. So the missing number is 4,504.
Wow, what went on over here? I see you guys have 3 parts up here.
Again, irrelevant, but gosh, I miss seeing kids without masks. It's so fun to see their facial expressions. I know I'm getting way too personal into this, but it's so fun to see them without their masks.
Sadly, why?
Because Susie had 1,123 trading cards. Lucy had 1,349, and we don't know how many Becky have, but we know all together they have 6,976.
So how did you go about solving for that missing part?
So I said I got that number. First, we added those two numbers to get that number, and then I subtracted that.
So I like she's being inquisitive to see what their thought process is. This is a great example of checking for understanding, kind of, and just digging into their minds, seeing what they're thinking. So I like that. I'm gonna keep watching.
From that number, and I got 4,504, and then I added 4,504 plus 2,472, and I got the number that's supposed to check.
I have a question. Why in the world would Jack have combined this number and this number together before he subtracted from this? Tegan, why do you think he combined this and this before he subtracted?
Because it gives you.
I like that she's calling on him because the other two have been talking and she's trying to make sure he's included in that. I struggle with this. I am so bad with this where I'll have kids just keep answering and I forget to stop and say, hey, let's let somebody else answer. But I know I need to be better with that. But I do like that she did that.
Part of the whole because like you have to add them all together.
Exactly.
Which is the whole.
Right. You can combine your parts together before you subtract. Some kids though sometimes would do 6,976 and minus that and then do that.
At first, Jack wanted to do that, then I suggested to add those two together.
And did you understand Bradley's suggestion? Okay, so come up with a way to check your answer.
Okay. So I guess that one was a little hard for me to hear feedback. It seemed like most of the feedback was just really inquisitive and challenging them to push their minds. Instead of just saying good job, she's kind of trying to push them further to look at different perspectives and other ways that they could solve the problem. Great, third video.
Listen as this teacher provides her second grade student with oral feedback on his writing. She has gathered information about his understanding by looking at his writing product, which in this case serves as a formative assessment. She helps him understand where some of our makes sense. I really like it. Almost all of your sentences here, you have complete sentences, finishes a complete thought. It makes sense.
She's affirming him on what he did right, doing the full complete sentences, making him know that he did something good, and that's really refreshing.
It's wonderful. Some grows that I want to take a look at.
I love that, some grows. Instead of saying, well, you didn't do this right, it puts the negative connotation instead of saying, hey, we can grow. Let's grow together and do this. So let's see what she says.
First, I see that let's see right here and right here and right here. You did what? They are, but they are all of them are beginning of the sentence, and you did what to them. Uppercase. Do you see some other spots maybe at the beginning of sentences? Let's start at the beginning. Look at the beginning of sentences. See some? Let's go back and let's just fix some of those. Remember, you don't have to erase since it's just a rough copy. What can we do to that's a symbol that we can show that we did not go on that. Three lines, right? That's the symbol that we should remember to capitalize that. That's going to be yeah. One three, we go through it and make sure find the ones that we capitalize.
She's guiding him through, giving him advice, but letting him do it himself. Not giving him any of the answers directly unless he needs them. So that's very helpful. All right, perfect. I like that. Kind of guiding through improving his learning by letting him figure it out. And again, there's a lot of inquisitive questions coming, as well as, giving him the positive feedback on what he's doing right. Okay, last one.
Thank you.
Sorry. Quick break. 1 second. Sorry for that. Had a little interruption, but we are good to keep going.
Giving feedback to my students, I try to make the feedback meaningful and meaningful to them, but also meaningful to everyone. And so I try to give feedback that is specific to the kind of learning that they're doing or something that they're demonstrating. And so my feedback might sound more like, I like the way you use that strategy to figure out that problem, versus good job, Johnny. What doesn't change?
The parts.
I like how you used the those words that we're using, parts and whole, the words that we're learning. Good job, Gabriel. I also like to give feedback, not in the sense that they're.
I have to say that I do like how she's giving feedback even in big group settings, because not only does that affirm or help the child that needs it or is getting the positive response telling them that that's what they're looking for, it helps that one individual child, but then it also sets expectations for the rest of the class, that, hey, Johnny did this correctly, without having to refer to him when talking to the other students. It sets that expectation kind of inexplicitly.
They're getting praise from me, but in the sense that they've empowered themselves on how to be a mathematician. So I might give feedback that sounds more like, why don't you try this strategy and see if that helps your learning? And when they're able to be successful with that, I know that they're going to internalize the strategies that I just said for them to try as internal feedback. I'm going to try that again because that worked for me. And so I try to make the feedback not so much where it's based on teacher happiness or compliance, and more on how did that help me? How did the feedback?
I love that so much. A lot of times it is about compliance, and that's how education has been for a long time, but we need to start really focusing on the kids. So it's going to help the kids more. And as a result, helping them find their motivation, intrinsic motivation, will result in better testing scores, and better student achievement, which is what you want as a teacher. So it not only helps them, but it helps you too.
Fact that the teacher gave me go deeper in my thinking and clarified a misconception or verified something that I knew that was right. Sebastian, I want 6 boys over here. Will you do your counting work to make sure there's 6 boys over here? 6. Sebastian, high five. You know what I think you did really well right now? I like how you used your finger to go back and count.
I'm doing great.
That was good math work, Sebastian.
The goal of my feedback actually is to give students information that will, no matter where they are, if they're as the top student, that they can always get better or what the next step is. So I always try and ground it in what they know and where they are at that point, and it's just the reality of what they know, and then kind of point them in the direction of where they can go to get even more information or their next step. And then if there's a misconception, or if I think they're a little not as strong as I want, I ask them questions. Will help bring to surface what's really going on for themselves and give me more insight. But now I want you to, this is your right, now you have a right triangle here and a right triangle here. So repeat the process you went through, but now this is your triangle. This is your triangle. This is your triangle, right? You guys can do this. You were the first ones to do it before.
The number one thing with feedback that I found is
I like that. She's encouraging them. You guys can do this. You've done this before, which can be good because sometimes, just like all of us, students run out of that motivation. They need that extra little push, and saying stuff like that's going to help them kind of drive forward. Like, my teacher believes in me. Why don't I believe in myself? Well, I can do this.
that it needs to be prompt. Students are thinking about where they are with a given success criteria. And if I don't get feedback to them in a timely fashion, it is just not going to be as effective because they're going to have to load back up. Where was I? What was I thinking about at the time? What was I understanding? What was I not understanding? So feedback, I try to be very prompt with it. The other strategy that I have with feedback is to make sure that it's custom for the individual student. So I don't want to just mark up their paper, but as much that I can give to them either verbally or written notes, I find that are customized to honoring their exam.
I like that personalized feedback. Don't give every child the same feedback because every child's going to learn differently. There's education for everyone, and we all experience learning in different ways. So I like that feedback should be personalized or customized as well, because they need to know what works well for them, and what they're doing that might not work well.
Exact thinking, almost in line with the way that I question them for understanding. When it feels more customized for them, when it feels more personal for them, they take it more personally. So first off, do we all agree on $37, 37 and change?
Yeah.
Okay. So mathematically, we all have the same response, but our analysis might differ, and that's okay. So if some of us are saying $37, it's more money, I'll take it, then by all means, let's do it. But if you're saying based on human logic, and I don't know if all of this is worth $37 over how many years? 3 years, 4 years. So that's a valid argument too. The point is you've got to justify. So you should all have the same mathematical justification, but then you might differ in the way that the conclusion. Yes, exactly. So just as long as you back it up, everything's good. That, by the way, looks awesome. Look at how nice and organized and clear. As a reader, I get to look at your work and I see specifically every single step, and it makes sense to me. That's a very, very good job of communicating.
That's awesome. He was so specific with all of that, which was great. Okay. So I think I covered both of these in answering what specific feedback and how that increases student learning. So I'm just going to attach this here and let me know if you have any questions. Thank you.